Hey, this is Meridith, Elliott, Powell, and welcome. It is Saturday morning. It is a little early because both Mark and I have pretty packed days for a Saturday. But welcome to A Sales Logic, the show where we dive into the strategies, we discuss the steps, everything that you need to know to well sell logically.
Hey, you know what? It is great to be here with you. And you know what's funny is it is Saturday morning, but like we were talking in the pre-show, we're both hitting the ground running. It's a full day, so it's great.
Yeah.
I love it.
It is. It's a very, very busy day today. I mean, both you and I are packed. I love that because I think that anytime you can get an extra working day in, it really talks about the fact that, I don't know, I mean, we keep saying this on this show, but the economy feels good. It feels like things are coming back and it feels like things are really starting to cook again. People are seeing opportunity in the marketplace, and they need the products and services to make things flow. So that's why sales is so important. How about we just shoot the video and let's just get into it, Mark? What do you think about that?
Let's go. Let's go.
Prospect with integrity, we will get customers who have integrity. Integrity is the foundation from which everything is built on.
You better understand value. But at the end of the day, sales is a relationship business. It is a people business. It is an emotional business.
This is Sales Logic.
Hey, Mark, I love that video for so many reasons.
Yeah,
one is because
I do too. I mean, yeah, it's great. I love it. Yeah.
But it also really highlights outbound. I mean, so much of the footage there from you is from outbound, and that is coming up here in June. So we want to make sure and do a big shout out to the Outbound Conference. You can just go to outboundconference.com, find out more about it. This is one sales conference you do not want to miss.
And, you know, people should use the discount, whether they use Meridith 100 or Mark 100. Use one of those because it'll save you $100 on the ticket. And hey, I'll tell you what, I've been working on content for it. And in fact, it's one of the things I was working on before we did our show here this morning. So yeah, Outbound, it is an amazing event. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger every year. But hey, we got a full show. But you know, before we jump into the show, we should kind of explain how. Well, I'll let you explain how it works, and
all right, great
topic up for the day. Go for it.
Okay, that sounds good. So the show hits every Saturday morning, and you got to love talking about sales on Saturday. Talk about getting ready for your week or closing it out strong. Every week we have a topic, something that's really relevant to help you sell more effectively, and we start each show with a question from you. Yep, our audience. You get to be involved. You get to be engaged. How do you do that? You just submit your question to saleslogicpodcast.com or just put it out there on social media, #SalesLogic. We have a book we want to discuss, something that would be really powerful for you to read to make you even better at sales. And we close out with a lightning round, the strategies that you can put into place immediately to ensure you get your return on investment. Because at Sales Logic, we are all about value. So Mark, what is on tap for today?
Well, on tap, you know what? You're talking about books. You got your book coming out in just a few weeks, Thrive. So I'm kind of anxious to see that thing take the world by storm because I know it will. So that'd be good. But anyway, hey, the topic for today, how to upsell your customer. That's the topic we're going to dive into. But before we do that, let's take a question from Denise on Long Island. She asks, how should I handle the customer that says, if you give me a good deal on the first order, I'll be able to order a lot more next quarter? She goes on to say, it's a request I get far too often. And you know what? We can all say, oh, we've had that request many, many times.
Yeah, I think there's a number of ways that you can handle it. I mean, number one, don't always run away from it because there is something to, I am assuming this customer has never worked with you before. And if they have never worked with you before, they may be wanting to try you out for size. So rather than discounting your first order, don't look to do that, because the moment you devalue the product, why wouldn't you give them a discount on the next order and the next order and the next order? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But you could look at, maybe you could negotiate a smaller deal, something that works within their price range, so that they could go ahead and try you on for size. Figure out why they're trying to get the discount. What is it that's holding them back? Are they really just trying to negotiate with you? Is it a budget constraint at the moment? Find out where the issue is for the customer.
Man, I was afraid I was going to have to push the stop emergency button on you. Pull the cord on the train. But I was concerned.
I saved it.
You were spot on, because it's not about discounting the price. That is and I agree with you 100%. That is the biggest mistake salespeople make. Oh, I'll just go ahead and discount the price. You never discount the price, because once you start discounting the price on the repeat order, that lower price is now where the value statement is created. Right. And you can't do that. So I agree with you. You create another alternative. You create a different way for them to really experience you. There may be something you can offer them that is of zero cost to you, but high value to them. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's in the terms of payment, the delivery method, whatever it might be. But boy, do not sit there, because how many times have we all, this happens to the rookie salesperson all the time. Rookie salesperson comes in, tells their boss, hey, I got this big order, but they just want a discount, and I know they're going to order a lot more. And I've been there. I've had to tell many a salesperson, it ain't going to happen. No. Because chances are that customer coming back and ordering those magnificent quantities that they say just never seems to quite materialize. Now, I don't mean customers are skeptical. They may be thinking that's going to happen, but it just doesn't happen. So don't allow yourself to get burned. Create some additional value in another way. Denise, boy, I'll tell you what. And hey, here's a piece. You know, if the customer is going to buy from you on price, they're going to leave you on price. Think about
big time.
Right. So anyway, what's
Mark, I do want to add though. There's a couple of nuances with this. Number one is, you could be selling into an industry that still is under a lot of pressure. I know that I work a lot in restaurant and lodging right now, and we have worked out fees for 2021 that will not stand in 2022. I'm empathizing with my customer who is going through a pain point right now. My husband is a dentist, and when COVID first hit, his favorite line with his patients was, "We're all in this together. Let's find a way to help you get what you need. We'll worry about the rest down the road." So that's why I'm really driving home the point. You need to understand what they're doing in trying to get you to give you the discount. Really listen, really pay attention. But a lot of times it's just a matter of, this is a game. And if that's the game and you immediately default, you've lost the game for a long time. At the same time, if you agree to buy 20 orders from me, guaranteed, sign that contract, I'm going to give you a little discount. No problem whatsoever. So know what you're doing, know what you're getting, and make sure that even if you do discount, it isn't a discount that makes it not worth the effort. Because the other thing we have all done is discounted to the point of pain, where honestly, by the time you put in the time and effort, you're losing money doing what you're doing.
Yeah, there's 3 final comments I will make on this, and then we'll jump over to the topic. And that is, one, do not discount your price just to create cash flow pricing. Yeah. I see this with a lot of solopreneurs. Well, times are tough right now. Things are slow. So I'm going to go ahead and discount my price because it's just going to create cash flow. I tell you what, you will never create a business off of cash flow pricing. You might survive for a little while. So if that's your strategy, you got to look at something else. But here's a piece that I think of. When you agree to discount a price for a new customer, what is that telling all your other customers? Yes. What's that telling them? This is telling them that they overpaid. And to me, that's a level of integrity. That is a level of not treating your customers fairly. Now, you mentioned something in terms of an industry. I've seen many, many situations where you'll price differently for a particular industry. We're both in the speaking industry. We do a lot of speaking, and there are different price structures and so forth that we will entertain for nonprofits
Yes.
if they fit a certain criteria, and that's fine. But that's a very defined piece. That's okay. Now, I don't call that discounting. That's pricing to that market. So that's completely different. What I don't want to get into is this habit of, oh, you asked me for a price discount. Okay, I'll give it to you. Because what happens is you play wonky games with your mindset. And then, man, you are in trouble quickly. Hey, let's jump over to the topic because the topic fits so well. How to upsell your customer. Would you like fries with that burger?
Okay, I gotta admit, I hate this term. I hate the term upsell. And the reason I hate the term upsell is because I feel like it's focused on what I want, rather than focused on what the customer wants. And the first thing that you need to do when you think about quote unquote upselling your customer is that it is really more about them than it is about you selling a product or service. Your customers have need of a lot of product or services. For example, I was just talking with one of my clients yesterday that I started out with. They called me about a speaking engagement. I'm now coaching their 2 executives. And from that, we figured out that they need to develop talent throughout the organization. So I'm getting ready to do a succession plan for them. That to me felt like an up value. I just kept listening to what they were talking about. And I'm like, oops, I can solve that problem. Oops, I can solve that problem.
Yeah. See, that's really what I kind of refer to as land and expand. We talk about upsell. Yeah, it is kind of a, that's why I joke. Would you like fries with that burger? Yeah. Would you like an extra large drink? Yeah. It's land and expand, because what you were doing was you were listening to the customer, and then you were able to suggest other additional things that really fit for what their needs are. Upselling, land and expand, is all about understanding the customer's needs. Now, here's where I think a lot of people get this wrong. What they do is they immediately begin to upsell. And yeah, I want to try to upsell. We'll go ahead and keep using this term here just for the sake of it. But, I want to try to enlarge. But here's where I think a lot of people make a mistake, especially in selling services. They wind up making the product or the service so complicated that the customer says, you know what? I'm going to wait and make it. I'm going to wait. I'm not going to make a decision now. In our thirst to try to upsell, we actually wind up creating no sale. And that's a real risk. So I always say I'm going to upsell. I'm going to land and expand after I have that initial order. I have that initial order. Now I'm trying to say, hey, how to, and I had the same situation. I did a keynote speech for a company recently, and they've come back to me, and I'm now coaching a number of their senior executives. And that's a very natural extension. You always want to ask yourself, what am I going to do next to help this customer get to the next level? And that's why I always say the only good sale is the one that leads to the next sale.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, we could talk for an hour on here. Big shout out to John Register. So glad you were in the house this morning. And Vishnu, we always love waking up with you on a Saturday morning too. Gotta love the people who come to the table to learn about sales on a Saturday morning. But we could talk forever on this upsell. Mark, what you were talking about is, I call it selling urgent need. Your customers can't hear you until you solve their problem. You can't expand and upsell until you solve what they are worried about. I tell this great story sometime from the stage. My husband had made the decision to buy a $100,000 piece of equipment. He was done. He was set that he was spending 6 figures. So in his mind, the sale was done. He'd taken it down to 2 salespeople. He'd set up the meetings and asked me to come in to listen to the presentations. And the day that I went into his office, it had been one of those bad days where there was a problem with the first patient, second patient was late. It was supposed to be a 2:00 meeting with the sales rep. By the time Rob got into the room, it was 3:00 and he hadn't eaten any lunch. You could see the irritation on his face. That sales rep jumped and immediately took it as a thought that I only have a few minutes to sell this. And as Rob sat down at the table, he just started spitting out every piece of information about his equipment. He leaves. The second guy comes in, takes one look at Rob and goes, Dr. Powell, it's been a bad day, hasn't it? And immediately the floodgate opened. Rob just started talking about the patient that had been late, the tooth that had broken, the technology that didn't work. And the salesperson said, why don't you grab a sandwich? I'm fine. We can kind of talk at the end of it. The point is that second rep talked 5 minutes about his product, and Rob signed on the dotted line with him because that rep sold urgent need. Rob's urgent need was somebody to listen to the fact that he'd had a bad day and somebody to understand what he was going through. If your customer is talking about an emotional thing that's going on with them, if they're talking about another product that you don't sell, whatever it is, you need to go with that. Because when you go with that, they think you are listening to them. And when you listen to them, they trust you. And trust is what you need in order to upsell a customer.
That is so true, because what you do is you now open the door for them to share with you more information. That's what that second salesperson was doing. And I'd venture to say that not only did Rob buy that $100,000 piece of equipment, but I bet Rob recommended him to other dentists.
Sure.
I bet Rob probably came back and did additional work with him. Because why? Because he took the time. And see, this is the whole thing. When we think about upselling, when we think about land and expand, we always think in terms of revenue. But see, what that second rep did was he first sold himself. He sold himself with Rob and allowed Rob to be able to just open up and share. And then what did that do? That allowed him to upsell essentially to that 6-figure piece of equipment. You know, stop and ask yourself, this is something we have to ask ourselves. When I get done with every sale, do I understand what the next need is that I can help the customer with? If I don't, and this is what I tell sales managers, this is something you've got to challenge your salespeople. Salespeople say, hey, I got this big order. This is great. Sales managers, you've got to be asking your people, okay, great. Hey, what else did you learn from them that's going to help set up the next opportunity for you to help them? Because we have to have our minds conditioned and trained and prepped to always be thinking. That's why I shout it loud and often. The only good sale is one that leads to the next sale. I always have to be creating that.
Yeah, John is asking a great question here. What language might we use to land and expand? John, this is kind of my typical conversation for a speaking engagement, because typically I use speaking engagements to get coaching and consulting work. I certainly want the speaking engagement, but I want to sell books, I want to get coaching, and I want to get consulting. So I certainly have the script of the conversation that I'm going to have all the open-ended questions, which is probably another piece of another show we need to have on here, is how do you even open up the conversation? What questions do you ask to land and expand? But once I do that, let's assume that I'm calling on Mark. I say, Mark, this has been great. I'm going to put together a proposal to take care of your conference in June. Let me fill that out. I'm going to send that across to you. We'll set up a call to go through that proposal. But after that, there's a lot of other things I think I can talk to you about. I heard a lot in that conversation that I think I could really help the company get to the next level. So what I've done is, Mark's not thinking past the conference in June. So I need to solve that problem. But once that is solved, I'm saying, I heard so much else in that conversation. I think there's a lot of other things that I'm talking about. I would argue until I solve that June conference, Mark can't hear me, because the June conference is his urgent need. And once I solve the urgent need, his anxiety level goes down, the door opens, and we can start to talk about other possibilities.
Yeah. And see, a technique that I love to use is I might be talking to you about something, and we'll say it's a speech, we'll say it's a service, we'll say it's a product, doesn't matter. I'm going to ask you, what's the outcome that you're looking for? What's the challenge you're dealing with? And I ask this with a lot of sincerity and a lot of empathy. And I want to get them sharing with me. Now, here's what I'm listening for. I'm listening for them to share with me other complex items that go along with it. Because I may add on that question and say, so what have been the things that you've kind of gone through now to get us to this point where we're talking here? You see, and what I'm doing is I'm getting them talking and I'm getting them sharing. I'm getting them comfortable, because what I found is when they're sharing with me the problem that we're going to help them with, like you were saying, that June speech, they're going to share with you some additional insights and some additional things. that's going to be then what I'm going to be able to begin building on and working towards. Because I always have to keep in mind one thing. Customers don't buy anything. They don't. They invest. It just is a simple fact of matter. We go through, salespeople customers don't want to be sold. They want to buy. I don't think they want to buy. They want to invest because they have an outcome they want to solve. They have a problem. So what they have to see me as is they have to see me as the person who is going to help them solve that problem. And when I do that and I create a success with the first problem, then guess what? I get to come back and I do it again and again and again. Upselling your customer is not a one-time event. Upselling your customer creates lifetime value with the customer. And again, this is what people have to keep in mind. Don't think for a moment that, I upsold and it didn't work there at the order, so I'm done with it. That's why I love this land and expand, because I'm going to be continually talking with you, trying to uncover new opportunities that you have that I can help you with.
Yeah, I want to shout out to John Register's comments here. Always listen and take time to hear other people's pain and problems. Help them in their needs. So true. That's what we're doing as salespeople. That's why it is such a profession full of integrity. There's an exercise. I've got a course just on follow-up, and one of my favorite things in follow-up is to write down your top 10 customers, just those people that you believe are your best customers. Then write down on the other side of the paper all the products and services you offer, workshops, for us it'd be speaking engagements, books, blah, blah, blah. And then start to see how many of the products and services your best customers have. It's usually 2 or less. And what they're going to have need of is probably 6 to 7. So begin that upsell with your existing customers just by reaching back out and checking in.
And that simple exercise opens your eyes up, because because what I find happening so often is the customer sees us for what they buy from us initially. And that's what they view us as. And we have to begin conditioning them to be able to see other things. So anyway, hey, our time is slipping by fast. Yes. we need to jump to the book. And hey, here is the book. It is The Lost Art of Closing by Anthony Iannarino. Hey, he's one of the main speakers at Outbound. Did we talk about Outbound? Yeah, you need to be at Outbound, outboundconference.com. Get there. But anyway, Anthony's written 3 books. This is The Lost Art of Closing. And you're going to think it's about closing. No, it's not. It's about all the steps you get to close. And that's why, when we picked out the topic, how to upsell, I said, this is the book, because he goes through in here 10 rules, 10 commandments, so to speak, of sales. So anyway, it's an excellent book there. So
anything by Anthony is an excellent book. And I always feel that by the time you get to the close, you should know whether that deal is closing or not.
Oh, the close really should be the easiest part of the sale. Yeah.
For sure.
So, hey, let's jump into the lightning round. Are you ready? Hands on the buzzer. Get ready to go. Networking secrets we've never shared before. Go.
Networking secrets we have never shared before. You should reach out and network to at least 2 people every single week.
I love that. I'm going to say connect people on LinkedIn that you know. You know somebody on LinkedIn, connect them with somebody else on LinkedIn.
Anytime you finish a job, make sure that you walk away with at least 2 people from that job that you're going to stay in touch with, that you're going to reach out to on occasion. But who really blew your mind, and who are you going to stay in touch with?
I'm going to say reach back out to long lost connections. You've got plenty of connections that you haven't talked to in years and years. Just pick up the phone, call them.
Yeah. Next, whatever is going on in your business, tell your network what you're doing. I get this all the time, that people say, well, I'm looking for this, and people in my network, I've switched industries. They don't know anything about that. You never know who your network is connected to. So start with the people who know, like, and trust you. Let them know what you're up to, what you're doing, and what you're looking for.
Compliment people. Take the time to reach out, whether it be by way of email, text message, phone, but compliment people. It's the way you're networking with people.
I started networking with a woman that used to work for Ritz-Carlton. Now she's with Berkshire Hathaway. We started sending postcards to one another back when we used to travel in the towns that we would visit. It was one of the easiest ways that I've ever stayed in touch with people. So now, as I slowly get back on the road, I'm picking up a handful of postcards and just jotting them out to people. It's a great way to stay in touch.
I love it. Hey, send out a morning email. Every morning, send out a morning email complimenting someone. It just changes your own thinking. But it's amazing how you are going to be deliberately touching somebody else every morning. Why don't you share one more? I'll share one more and we'll close it down.
Yeah, approach networking with the mindset that you're going to get nothing in return. I mean, really go at it with a servant's heart, invest in other people, and trust the journey.
And I'm going to say referrals, referrals, referrals. One of the ways that you network is you give out as many referrals as possible. So with that, hey, we need to kind of close it down. I want to say thank you for listening to Sales Logic this week. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. If something we've said has earned you a single dollar, consider telling a friend about our show. It's how we grow to help you grow. I'm Mark Hunter.
And I'm Meridith Elliott Powell.
Remember, when you sell with confidence and integrity,
uncertainty suddenly becomes your competitive advantage.
And the sale becomes logical.
All right. You have been an awesome audience this morning. Thanks for engaging. We will see you next week back at our regular time. Hopefully, Mark and I won't have 2 packed Saturdays. Well, I don't know. Maybe we would hope that we would. But 9 a.m. Eastern every Saturday morning. Check us out on saleslogicpodcast.com. Any challenge, opportunity, or question you have with sales this week, please reach out. Just enter your question there. You will be a featured guest on this show. But we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
And I'll see you at Outbound Conference.
Outbound Conference. Thanks, Urban, for joining us. It was great to have you and everybody else here. Thanks so much.